What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another Friday night. It's the Play Callers Sports Talk Radio Show. And
Y'all
I
better
am, of
know that.
course, one half of the dynamic duo. You can find me at Box Talk Sports, the one and the only Stephen Box, joined, as always, by the other half of the dynamic duo, one half of the world tag team champions of sports talk, the one and
Yes,
the
sir.
only.
That would be this guy you looking at, Cool McCain. You can find me several different places. All over Twitter, all over IG, Facebook. It's always Cool McCain, but you're gonna put that little underscore between Cool and McCain when you go on Instagram. And don't forget to also hop on that Play Caller Sports Talk page. Five's gonna be coming there soon as well. A lot of changes gonna be happening. So just get on there so you can be on board for the changes. Word up.
2022 gonna be a big year tonight, man. We talking the NFL Super Wildcard Weekend. We're gonna talk about some of these coaching vacancies, and time permitting, man. Hopefully, gonna have a little conversation about the midseason NBA MVP as well. But before we do that, allow us to introduce ourselves. We are the Play Callers. Yes, sir. We are live and ready to roll. We're going to have some special guests join us throughout the show tonight to help go over some of these games. So, cool. Do you want to go ahead and jump straight into the games, or do you want to talk about some of these coaching decisions, we'll say, that happen?
Hey, man, we might as well go ahead and cover these coaching, like you said, decisions real quick. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to let you handle that one. And I'm going to do the Cool McCain chime in.
Yeah, so obviously the one that I think took a lot of people by surprise that we have to have the conversation about is Brian Flores. Behind the scenes rumors that there was some issues between him and Tua, and I'm gonna tell you, man, I personally find it a little shady. Now, I'm not saying that he maybe didn't actually say or do some of the things that they're saying, but I find it a little shady that none of this stuff ever came out until after the firing and after you caught major backlash for doing it. To me, all these things you're saying feel a whole lot like you're trying to CYA, if you know what I'm saying.
I definitely know what you're saying. So for me, I actually had a conversation with Dolphins fan that gets information from insiders and the same type of vibe. Oh, he had some problems with the GM. He was disrespectful to players. So let me clarify this. The disrespectful to players thing is complete and utter bull crap. And I'm going to tell you why. As a grown man, because we're not talking about college players, we're talking about grown men. As a grown man, if you disrespect me all week, I'm not going out and put my heart on the line for you on Sunday. Miami never stopped playing hard for that man, so you cannot tell me that there was a whole lot of disrespect going on behind the scenes to the players. Now, also the tension with the general manager, I can see that because maybe he didn't want Tua and the team wanted Tua. Maybe he did want Tua and the team doesn't want to, commit to Tua.
Yeah.
But here's the truth of the matter. Here's my thing about this man was the most successful coach you've had in a long time. You removed him. I heard rumblings about it the week before. You removed him. Now, who's going to take the job? You've essentially set that job up to be no better than the Florida Gators in the college football, just as my co-host was talking about the other week. You've done the same thing. Being successful there is not enough. So what is enough? Winning the Super Bowl with that team? What is it going to take for a coach to stick? That should have been enough to get that man another year, even if there was tension. But you know what? I'll say the same thing, and I'm going to say this about one other person later. Blind Flores, they did you a favor.
Yeah.
Now you can go somewhere and really be successful and have the players you want. They did you a favor. And they're gonna wish they hadn't, but they did.
And, I know a lot of people are going to want to talk about this. this to me, I'm not even really getting into the conversation of it tonight because it really deserves a deeper conversation than what we can afford to have tonight. But in the coming weeks, as we start looking at some of the hires that get made, guys who might get passed up, we're going to have the conversation around we'll say the lack of time that coaches who look a certain way get versus some other coaches. Yeah, we're going to have that conversation within the next couple weeks. Trust. Because this is definitely one of those situations. Now, there's another guy who just happens to look a lot like Brian Flores, who is also fired. Well, you weren't fired, so.
Well, but he looks like me.
Yes, he does, but you weren't fired, so. But this other coach is the Texans, David Culley. Now, I will say I think this particular situation is a little bit different in the fact that this was never intended to be a long-term hire. They hired this man because we said on the show last year when they hired him, the hiring made no sense. Like basically what happened was other coaches looked at that team. You fired B.O.B. You thought you were going to be able to go out and get somebody. People looked at the hot mess that B.O.B. left on that roster.
Hot mess.
And they looked at the mess that was going on with Deshaun Watson, and nobody wanted to touch it. And you thought that you could bring this guy in. You thought he would win 1 or 2 games. You did not expect him to actually do a good enough job to get this team to go out and play hard and win 4 games. Let's be very legitimately clear here. David Culley, what he did with this roster was actually impressive. Okay, because they did not expect that. And in my opinion, they fired him because they were afraid he would do even better next year and they'd be stuck with him.
I'm going to say the same thing that I said a few minutes ago. I agree with what you said. You brought a guy in. You did not think that he was going to do a good job and he was going to be able to be the scapegoat, but he wasn't. He made a quarterback that was like, that we never heard of before into a solid starting quarterback. Want to say what up, Big E? What up, fam? What up, T.I. as well? Now, here's the thing. Houston actually did a huger favor for David Culley than Miami did. And I'm going to tell you why. Culley was never going to get another job until he got this job. And he knew that. That's why he took this job. Yep. He knew the job was going to be crap, but he was confident in his own abilities, and he proved to be right. Yeah. So now you've gotten rid of him. But other teams now see, oh, this guy might, he's a little older. He hasn't had a coaching job before, but he took a crappy team and he won some games. So now I just hope and pray that him and Flores get jobs. I hope and pray that they get jobs. And I'm going to tell everybody out here, if those 2 men get hired, the next job they're going to be better at. And those are going to be 2 teams that are going to be on the way to being successful. Now, one quick point about Flores that I've heard is that he's interested in the Giants job. Yeah. I don't know how true it is, but that has been, something that's been out kind of floating in the circles that he's interested in that job. If I'm Flores, take the best job for you, bro. I'm not going to sit here and say, go here, go here, go there. You take the best job for you where you feel like you can get a real chance and make a team. I want to see more people that look like me coaching because I see a whole lot of people that look like me playing. And that's all I'm going to say on those 2 men.
Now, you so he was the Giants fan. You just said, "I'll bring him."
Big pickup for y'all.
Okay, since Shahir Flores, they're going to cash them draft picks.
If I was Flores, I wouldn't want to go there. But that's on him. I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, I wouldn't. But here's what I'm going to tell you in terms of the Giants that I find interesting, because obviously one of the coaches that got fired was Joe Judge. And
rightfully so.
And here's what I think. Judge didn't do a horrible job. He could have justifiably been getting another year. But what I think happened was, even though the defense played well, the offense was absolute crap. And I think that as they started interviewing GM candidates after Gettleman retired, I think a lot of these candidates told them they would have zero interest in having him as their coach. That's why I think they pulled the trigger on him, because they didn't do it right away. I think that's why it took an extra couple of days for him to get fired. Was I really believe these GM candidates was like, I do not want him as my coach.
Well, yeah. Here's the crazy thing is this: 9 times out of 10, when you're going to get rid of the GM, you might as well go ahead and knock the coach out too, because how appealing is it for a GM to come in when the GM is being fired? Because obviously the team sucks, right? GMs don't get fired when the teams are good.
Mm-hmm.
So the only time that really works out is if you have a situation like Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, where you have everything in place, but for some reason the general manager moves on, retires, whatever, and someone else comes in. But when you're in a bad situation, a coach that doesn't have his players performing well, why would you want to keep them? Why? What makes sense about keeping them? So clearly, I wouldn't take that job with him in place. And it's the management and the ownership. This tells you how lackluster of an ownership that they have in New York. They're not Houston bad, but they're not levels above it, because you're sitting here basically saying, I've got to have people tell me that I shouldn't keep a lamed up head coach because I know the new GM is going to want his own guy sooner or later. So why not clean house like they did in other places? That's what makes sense. Be smart, people. Be smart. Let's not just throw stuff out there to throw it out there. Make it make sense for me. Make it make sense.
So now, a lot of these, the rest of these firings, we can run through really fast. Obviously, ones that we knew about for a while now, Urban Meyer and Chucky out there in for the Raiders. Mm-hmm. We knew those openings were both coming up. Both of those guys deserve to get fired for their individual situations. Nothing really discussed. The Vikings did, though. Yeah, he was. But he did say what he said, and it was on.
But yeah, he said what he said. I mean, he should have got fired for sure.
Yeah. The Vikings fired Mike Zimmer and their general manager. Can't fault them for either one of those decisions. The Vikings, I think, looked at what they had with Zimmer and said, hey, we can either perpetually be a team who either just misses or just makes the playoffs and never does anything, or we can try to get somebody who might actually be able to utilize the talent better. Do you have anything you want to add on that? I would simply
say this. House should have been cleaned. About time you idiots did it. Good job, Vikings. Finally.
Yeah. And one that I know a lot of our sideline sports colleagues are celebrating is Matt Nagy being fired by the Bears, as well as their general manager. So
the most obvious set of firings that happened. That's all I can say about that. Yeah. I don't even have anything else to say.
Yeah, and then another one that I think made a lot of sense, Vic Fangio getting fired as well.
Don't perform, you don't keep a job. It's funny how they keep getting coaches and they don't perform. Just gonna leave that there. It's gonna leave that there. But ladies and gentlemen, we have our first guest here. I'm gonna bring my man on. I'm gonna let him introduce himself, and then we're gonna talk a little Raiders versus Bengals.
All right.
So here we go, good people. Let's rock it.
What's going on, fellas? What's going on? How y'all doing tonight?
What's going on, man?
What's going on, man?
Fisher got the press conference
okay,
background.
I see that. I see that.
Here. I had to bring out the Al Davis. You know what I'm saying? So, what's going on, everybody? My name's Darian. I am the podcaster for Spotlight Raiders Talk and the CEO of the Spotlight Sports Network. Been a Raiders fan since 1998. And we have not looked great since. So I'm just saying. But I'm very prideful, when it comes to my Raiders, man. My family lived in Oakland. I traveled there back and forth from, Oakland to Philadelphia, and understanding my brother's a 49ers fan. Unfortunately, my father's an Eagles fan. Unfortunately, it just happens that West Coast family versus East Coast family, and they took the kids to the West Coast, and we became West Coast family, So, basically, I'm just happy to be here. Thanks for having me on, and I appreciate it.
No doubt, man. Yes, sir. So, Bosh, you want to hit the first question? Or you want me to set this off?
So, I want to actually kind of go a little bit back before we even jump into the game upcoming. So let's actually talk about the game that got you into the playoffs.
Okay.
All right.
A lot of people not anybody on this show, but a lot of people had this crazy idea that the Raiders were actually going to intentionally go for the tie and allow their division rivals to go into the playoffs with them instead of actually kicking that field goal until the timeout got called. So, as a Raiders fan, knowing kind of the thinking of your coach and your organization, are you buying that, or is that just really stupid?
I mean, I don't. From what I saw from Rich Bisaccia's presser, he said they was going to go a little bit different until the timeout was called out. We don't know what that different was, so it's all he say, she say at this moment. But I felt as though Derek Carr did not want to go for the tie. This is a divisional rival game. This is the Chargers. This is the AFC West. Why go on a tie and put the and try to have our division rival in there where Pittsburgh could get kicked out in the first round? I'm just saying, why not? But at the same time, as a Las Vegas Raiders fan, I did not want to play the Kansas City Chiefs in the first round. So Derek Carr wanted to go for that win. We get the 5th seed and we play Cincinnati, which we saw Cincinnati earlier this year. I mean, it's a better scenario for us. But am I buying it? I mean, I bought it a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I thought they was going to go for the tie. But I think Derek Carr had a lot to do with, like, let's just go out and win this game for the Raiders instead of going for a tie.
So you think maybe, if anything, that if the timeout had any impact, it might just be gave Derek Carr a couple of seconds to argue his case of, hey, let's go win this thing.
Yeah, it's a division game. I understand if this was a game that it was out of our division or out of our conference, didn't go for that tie if it's needed. But this was a divisional game. We don't like the Chargers. Chargers don't like us. And the way that game was going, why end in a tie? Have a dramatic finish. And that's exactly what happened.
Cool. Well, congratulations on making the playoffs, man.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So you are playing the Cincinnati Bengals this week. As you did allude to, you did play them a little earlier in the season. So what's changed about the Raiders since that first game?
I think mentality has changed. And knowing that we went on that slump after, mind you, the John Gruden situation, the Henry Ruggs situation, and then a Damon Arnett situation came out. I think mentality has changed for the Las Vegas Raiders. And you could tell in the last 4 to 5 weeks that mentality has changed. You look at they finally want to play for each other. It's not no discrepancy in the locker room. It's not drama that you always hear. You see the last 4 weeks, we was able to run the football effectively with Josh Jacobs. Even though we don't have a Henry Ruggs, Hunter Renfrow has came on to be one of the best receivers, best slot receivers in this game outside of Cooper Kupp. You just see a guy like Denzel Perryman that stayed injured over and over and over again, lead the league in tackles. So I think it was more of a mentality thing. And Rich Bisaccia, I understand he's an old coach, but I think he tried to keep this team under wraps as much as we get so much media notice. He tried to keep it under wraps as much as possible. And the team is buying in on him right now. I mean, 4 out of the last 5, we won 4 straight. We beat good teams to get into the playoffs. And knowing that we playing the Cincinnati Bengals, and people want to say, oh, Bengals going to win. But the last time we met them, Jamar Chase only had 3 receptions for 32 yards. I'm just throwing that out there. But I'm just saying, but it's not going to be a lot of passing in this game. It's going to be cold as ever. Derek Carr's 0-5 in the cold weather. Keep running the ball with Josh Jacobs. That's all I really got to say about that one. But yeah, it's mentality for me.
Okay.
Yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense, man. I want to shout out Billy V and Wyatt. I'm definitely with you, Wyatt. Witty flow, you wild, bro. But I kind of see where you're coming from. But for me, kind of got asked you the question from the other side. Okay. So what do you feel like Cincinnati can do to win this game?
The only thing I can really say that Cincinnati can do to win this game, can they sustain Hunter Renfrow? What corner do they really have can sustain Hunter Renfrow? And now Waller's coming back after his second week starting. That's another thing. Who do you have as a linebacker or a corner that can defend Waller when it comes to that? And people fail to realize that we have one of the best front fours in football when it comes to the defensive line. Joe Burrow is the most sacked quarterback in this league as of right now. So It's a lot of things that the Raiders can do to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. The question is, can the Raiders execute? Because we was up so much going into that fourth quarter with the Chargers, and you see how that turned out. So it's all about executing and keeping the foot on the necks and not trying to give the momentum to come back in the game. I think for us to win this game, we got to get the lead early, and time of possession is big. Keep Joe Burrow and that offense off the field.
So would you say just keeping the team focused is your biggest concern that you have, or do you have something about your team that concerns you a little bit more in this game?
I think the only thing that really concerns me in this game, and I'm just going off of when we played them the first time, Joe Mixon got going really, really late in that game after Derek Carr threw that interception, that pick six. Joe Mixon got started. If we could contain him, and I know they got receivers like Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, but I just feel like the only thing that's really concerned about me in this game is the weather. You know, Las Vegas going to the East Coast is by game. It's supposed to be like 6 degrees by the time the game starts. That's so crazy. I don't know what Raiders team is going to show up. I really don't know at this point because we're just not good on the East Coast, and that's something that has to change. But if I was the coach, if I was Rich Bisaccia, I'd just run Josh Jacobs into the ground. That's just me. Run him into the ground. He's been playing hurt all year. Why not just keep doing it?
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense, man. So I have one last question that I'm gonna ask you, and of course, if the Raiders win, bro, we'd love to have you, hop back on with us next week. But my question is, what would be the one X factor or matchup that you think can decide the game? Besides, of course, the things that you talked about, like matchup wise, like a defense versus special teams, a certain matchup, or what do you think would be the one thing that can determine this game? One X factor to come down to?
When it's going to come down it's going to come down to the quarterbacks and who has the ball last.
Okay.
If Derek Carr has the ball last with 29 fourth quarter comebacks, we win this game. If Joe Burrow has that ball last and the way our defense collapse, Cincinnati wins this game. So that's one of the factors that I have. And I think it's going to be a challenge for Bengals offensive line versus our defensive line and vice versa. Knowing that we don't have no Gabe Jackson, we traded him. We have no Rodney Hudson, we traded him. We drafted Alex Leatherwood. Any Raider fan could tell you that I thought that was a reach as a Raiders fan. But once you put him from right tackle to right guard, he hasn't pressed only given up one pressure in 4 weeks. So it's really going to be the interior line and who has the ball last in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense, man. Definitely makes a lot of sense. Good old-fashioned football. Love it.
So you did have a question here from Witty Flow. He wants to know if you think the Cards going to be hindered in any way with no playoff experience.
I don't think so. He played in big moments that was like a playoff game already. We seen it this year when you look at the Baltimore Ravens game in that overtime game, which I think was double overtime. No, it was double. It was overtime. That game, and then we went into the Chargers game. That was an overtime game. We had a few overtime games. I think against Denver we had an overtime game, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a few overtime games that he came up clutch when it was needed. So I think being in the playoffs I think it won't hinder him at all. I know he missed the 2016 season with a broken leg. I think we could have beat the Texans that year if Carr would have played in that playoff game, but I don't think it would hinder him. No, absolutely not.
Okay. Well, appreciate those insights, man. Appreciate you coming on, and best of luck to you and the Raiders this week. And as my co-host said, man, if they win, we'd love to have you come back next week and preview that next matchup.
Awesome. Good luck to your teams too. I picked them 49ers and I picked those Eagles to win because I don't care for the Cowboys. The Raiders did beat them, and I don't care for Tom Brady because the Raiders made Tom Brady to where he is today with the tuck rule. So so with that being said, good luck to y'all teams as well, and thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on, bro.
All right, no problem.
Yeah, man, I think that's going to be a real interesting game. The Raiders are obviously, I think, going to benefit from the fact this is a 4:30 game and not a 1 o'clock game. Because it's all, I've talked to them a couple of times, maybe about, the factor, West Coast teams playing at 1 o'clock, So it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a closer game than a lot of people expected, to be honest.
So yeah, Whitty's definitely not a fan of Tom Brady, but a lot of people aren't. So it is what it is. I understand that. But yeah, man. So Well, we got a few minutes before we get our next guest on. Got a little game that me and you're going to discuss here. We're going to discuss the New England Patriots versus the Buffalo Bills. So I'll begin by asking you this question. Which offense do you think is going to be more prolific in this game?
So here's what I'm going to say. If I'm Buffalo, I'm a little bit scared. And here's why. You had the game against New England in the blizzard in which Josh Allen wasn't able to do anything at all. Okay. Now,
so true.
That was, kind of a blip on the radar, right? Like you were like, how are you going to really play in that kind of weather, right? It's not like most people weren't going to play well that. But then he turns around and plays the Falcons at home in the cold and threw 3 interceptions. Should have been 4. So the game that they played that was in like nice, clear weather and everything against New England in the rematch, they won pretty easily. Now, the weather's not supposed to be too bad in Buffalo, but it is going to be really cold. If I'm Buffalo, my biggest concern right now is, do I have a concern that my franchise quarterback in Buffalo doesn't play well in cold weather? To me, that's what's going to dictate which offense is going to be most prolific. If Josh Allen goes out there and struggles to play in the cold like he has a couple times already this year, then New England's offense is going to look better. I don't want to use the word prolific because I think they're going to ask Matt Jones to manage the game. They're not going to ask him to go be prolific. I'm not going to use that word. So if you're asking which one's going to be more prolific, there's only one that has a chance to be prolific.
Yeah, I made sure I use the specific word. Yes, sir.
Yeah. But if you're asking which offense might execute better, I'm kind of leaning towards New England.
I'm going to answer my own question by agreeing with you and by saying simply this. This is the playoffs. This is Josh Allen's chance to show who he really is, right? We've had Heckle and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with him. We've had some games where it's like, man, this dude is a monster, running the ball, throwing the ball, playing great. And we've had some games where it's like, bruh, this dude is like not that good. So what I think we're going to get is we're going to get a Buffalo team that's going to dink and dunk. They're going to use their plays. They're going to take some shots when they get them. And Josh Allen's going to have to, if he can limit the turnovers, this offense can be prolific against this New England Patriots offense or defense. And then, obviously we're talking offense versus offense. Yeah. But the thing with New England is, even if you're prolific in this game, they're going to clearly run the ball. They're going to dink and dunk. So there's going to be a lot of time eaten up if they can have the offense run the way they want it. You want to limit the opportunities that Mac Jones has to have to try to win the game. But if you're Buffalo, you want to put him in situations where he's got to be the guy to win the game, not allowing him to throw for, 35 yards and run for like 1 billion yards on you. You can't allow that to happen. You have to shut down that run game. Buffalo's defense has to say, we're men. This is the playoffs. It's time for us to show who we are. I think Buffalo's going to do that. I think it's going to be close just because of the game that Bill Belichick is going to call. But at the end of the day, Josh Allen better outplay Mac Jones, or all this talk about him being another one of the great line of quarterbacks needs to be greatly reduced.
Yeah. Now, the one thing I will say for Buffalo that is a little bit helpful is the last couple of weeks, their running game has at least looked like it had some life.
Yeah, you got to have that too, definitely.
It hasn't been great by any stretch of imagination, but it's at least had a little bit of life. So that could go a long way in helping them out because what you can't afford to do against anybody in the NFL is go out and be completely one-dimensional, especially not once you get to the playoffs.
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. You have to go out. Like I said, it's the time where you're basically now you're punching people in the mouth. I use this a lot when we're talking about serious situations like sports games. You have to go out and punch the other team in the mouth. You have to strike first. You got to kind of Cobra Kai. You got to strike first. You got to strike fast. You got to strike hard. Right? That's what you got to do. You want to go out. You want to get the lead. You want to never give it up. Whether you get the ball first or whether the other team gets the ball first. Now, strategy would dictate whoever wins the coin toss is going to say, I'll defer. Right? Because if you can get that first stop, then get some points on the board, whether it's 3 or 7, you get a little confidence, you feel a little comfortable. Do I think this is a game where Buffalo's going to score 40-some points? No. But I think if they can score 24 to about 27 points, they should be able to win this game. New England, I think they're going to have to score 30 to win this game, or 28 to 31 to win this game. They're going to have to put up big points to win this game. I think Buffalo can score a little bit less because they get ahead and they get a lead. Then obviously, New England's got to start running the ball. That's what Buffalo wants, is New England to have to not run the ball as much and have to rely on the arm of Mac Jones. Yep. That's what you want to do to win this game. First every time in the playoffs, young quarterback. He's had some up and down games himself. He's kind of been a game manager. He hasn't really went out and been prolific against any of the more solid teams that they've played. So This is the moment to see if Mac Jones is who we think he is, or if he's maybe somebody that's a little bit better than what we've given him credit for so far.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately what it comes down to is Buffalo needs to go out and be aggressive. They need to be the prolific offense. They need to go out there and put points on the board, build a lead up. They need to force New England to become one-dimensional, and they need Mac Jones throwing the football as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with that. So, that's pretty much, that game. It's pretty much what we have going on with that. Got another game we can touch on real quick here. It's not going to take a lot of time. And that's going to be my game. It's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Since it's my game, I am going to allow my co-host to ask me the questions, and I'm going to answer.
Okay. So first of all, I want to go ahead and commend you for, actually calling them by their actual name and not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes, playoffs. We're being serious now. So. Probably the first time I have since he's been there.
So a lot has been made this week about your ability to run against the Buccaneers. They have the number 3 rush defense in the NFL. They had the number 1 rush defense, but when they lost to Levante David, that number started tumbling. So just in kind of looking at some of the highlights of the last couple of weeks, or if you've actually maybe had a chance to watch some of the games, what have you seen change in Tampa's defense that gives you the confidence that you're going to be able to run the ball against them?
So there's actually 2 answers to that question. There's the Tampa answer, and then there's the answer for what I know that we can do. So I'll start by answering your question. So for me, Tampa Bay is a team that bullies you early in the run. They try to force you into the mind state of don't run the ball on us. They go all out in the beginning, run blitzes, a lot of plays to try to take the run away from you and get you to not focus on that part of the offense so they can make you one-dimensional. Now, they have some questions at cornerback and things, but when you can make a team one-dimensional and you can drop that extra player back in coverage because the team's not going to really try to run that much, then that gives them an advantage. So what a team has to do is they have to get in there and say, you know what, we're going to run the ball. If every play is 2 yards, I don't care. We are going to pound the ball at you. We're going to run outside. We're going to run inside. We're going to, reverses. We're going to do whatever we can to get the ball in the hands of playmakers running. That's something I believe that we'll do because with the surge that we had the last part of the season, the Philadelphia Eagles are the number 1 ranked rushing team in the NFL. So number 1 versus number 3, strength versus strength, offense versus defense. But at the end of the day, our line, the stable of backs that we're going to have, I don't know if we're going to have all of the backs for the playoffs. We should, but I'm not going to go into that because that could be a long conversation. But we will have Miles Sanders. He's going to be back according to reports. Jordan Howard's going to play. He didn't play last week, because of the stinger he had. We are going to have Boston Scott, and hopefully we'll at least have Kenneth Gainwell. I'd like to have Huntley as well. I'd like to have all 5 of those backs active. And the reason being 2 back sets, fresh legs. Let's continue to roll running back after running back after running back at this defense and see if they can handle it. They can stop 3 to 4 running backs on a consistent basis in the line that we have, then, hey, they get some props. But I think if we use our strength and sprinkle in other things that we do well, like play action, we have a good chance to win this game.
So with that being said, let's pretend for a second that they actually are able to shut down your run, right? And we'll kind of leave it open for debate on what qualifies as shutting down. But let's just say that they basically make your running game pretty much ineffective. How confident are you as an Eagles fan that Jalen Hurts can have this game put on his shoulders and deliver?
I'm pretty confident because the thing is, you not only have to watch for the running back every play, you've got to spot Jalen Hurts every play. So even if you shut down the traditional running game, can you shut down Jalen Hurts running the ball as well as cover with the extra man back? Because if you drop that extra man back because you feel like we can't run, then that's normally the guy that would be spying Hurts. So if he doesn't have that guy to spy him, he's going to take off and he's going to get yards. So you think about not just the running backs, quarterback's going to get some yards in running the ball as well. Now, as far as his arm goes, I trust that he'll make better plays than I would have trusted he'd make in week 5. If we're having this conversation the early part of the season, I'm like, if we're not running the ball, I don't know. And we saw what happened when we're not running the ball. But I think if we at least have the attempts, we can run RPO, we can get some play action going, we can get a couple of design runs for him if they're starting to shut down the run game, then I think that he's going to be able to do enough for us to win the game. You have Dallas Goedert. He's going to get his yards. I hate that we lost Tyree Jackson. He was just starting to come in, but we're probably going to throw Richard Rodgers in as the second tight end. Of course, we have Devontae Smith, who I'm very high on. Gainwell is a guy who can catch the ball out of the backfield. And we have some other guys that can contribute, and we have some guys that I wish were not contributing. But I think that there's enough options in the passing game where if we spread the ball out, Quez Watkins is another one. We're going to have to make some plays. We need Greg Ward in the game as well. We're going to have to spread them out thin sometimes. Sometimes we're going to have to power on them. But the thing is, whether the run game is working or not, you're going to have to make some plays with his arm, Jalen Hurts, to win this game, and I believe that he can do it.
Okay. So now, obviously, defensively, the main concern you would have would be their ability to shut down your run. The secondary for Tampa is not really going to scare anybody. Right. But flipping to the other side of the equation, what scares you about their offense going against your defense?
Well, what scares me is they have a guy that you're never going to get a call on, and you have to make sure that you pull up like 50 feet before you touch him because you can't graze him. You can't look at him wrong. You can't accidentally fall near his place or you're going to get a 15-yard penalty. And we do have a defensive lineman who's not very smart with getting penalties. So big stops, and then here comes a dumb penalty, that's going to hurt. So everybody on defense needs to understand Tom Brady is untouchable. You touch him, you're getting 15 yards. So we have to play smart, be aggressive, but when that ball is gone, if you got to dive to the side, do not touch that guy. Do not land near that guy, or there's going to be a penalty. We also can't get frustrated if they're calling some penalties that are questionable because this happens a lot of times when you're playing Tampa Bay. You got to buckle down. You got to play your defense. You got to attack at the right times, and you got to tell yourself, we're going to stay in control. We're going to play smart. We're going to blitz at times. We're not going to send a blitz every time. We're going to cover. We're going to cover wisely, and we know who the threats are. Mike Evans is a big threat, and their 7-headed tight end stable is a big threat. Yeah. So those are the guys that we need to be watching out for. Those are the guys we got to cover, and we need Darius Slay to be who we always call him, Big Play Slay.
Okay. So you kind of gave us the outline for what the Eagles need to do to win. Run the football, keep Jalen Hurts in third and manageable, so when he does have to throw the football, you're not asking him to go out there and do a whole lot. And not make stupid plays to get stupid penalties on defense.
Yes.
What does Tampa need to do to win this game?
Tampa's got to run the ball. Tampa's got to use their backside of the backfield to throw the ball. They've got to get us going one way because we have a lot of speed on defense and then cut back the other way. They've played us already this year, so they know defensively what we were going to try to do. We know what they're going to try to do. We played them as well. Jalen Hurts is going to be better. Tom Brady's going to be Tom Brady. He just has to make plays. We got to ruffle him but you can't touch him. So that's kind of hard to do because you have that, that stretch. So Tom Brady's just got to make the plays when they're available. We do have some guys who will sometimes let up a little bit or not turn the right way, not make the right fundamental play on defense. If he can find those holes and get in there and attack, that's going to be a way that they can win the game. Shutting us down on our run game, that's going to help them win the game. If they can win the turnover battle, that's going to be tough for us to overcome. So there's a lot of ways that they can beat us as well. They're going to have the more prolific air attack in this game. Just because of what the weapons they had, even missing Antonio Brown and Chris Goodwin, that's still a solid stable of guys. So those are things that we're going to have to be watching out for, and those are things we don't want to happen. We want to kind of shut some of those things down, at least for a part of the game, and we have to win the turnover battle. If they win that turnover battle, Tampa Bay's going to win this game.
Okay. And we'll find out at the end of the show for sure. But I have a feeling I know who you're going to pick in this game.
So. I don't know how you would have such a feeling, sir.
I don't know, man. So what's our next game, man? Who we got up next?
All right. So next, man, we're gonna go ahead and keep it rolling. So let's go ahead and look at doing the Rams versus the Cardinals. So this is a game I know that you're very, familiar with the two teams that are in there, but I think I know a little bit about those teams as well.
Yeah. You might have played them, once or twice. Yeah. Yeah, man. To me, what this game comes down to, honestly, is the quarterbacks. If Kyler Murray can go out there and actually play like he was playing earlier in the season, Arizona has a very, very good chance of winning this game, even without DeAndre Hopkins. On the other side, the question is which Matthew Stafford is going to show up, because Matthew Stafford started the season off hot, right? Looking like a potential MVP candidate, looking like he was going to prove us wrong. I knew better, but he looked like he was going to prove us wrong. Too.
So did I.
And what happened was, and I'm just waiting to see the chat over here for Lions fan and pop in and talk about how he saw this for like 12 years. But what we've seen the last few weeks is Stafford's turned into that turnover machine. So the question I have is, can they get that reverse? Can they eliminate the mistakes from Matthew Stafford? And that's to me is the big question mark.
My opinion, the answer is no. 0-3 in the playoffs. This is when he breaks down. This is when he chokes. This is vintage Matthew Stafford, to borrow a phrase from good old JR. This is vintage Matthew Stafford.
Now, I do want to give you one stat to think about real quick, okay? Because we talked about this last week before the 49ers and the Rams game, right? And we talked about sometimes when you have a trend like this, you have to look at it and you have to make picks based on it. Since 2017, the Cardinals are 1-9 against the Rams.
This game is a home game for
the
Rams, right?
Which, as we saw last week, does not necessarily mean it will actually be a home game for the Rams.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
It could be Cardinals' home game.
Here's another stat for you. Cardinals have one loss on the road this year. This is a home game for the Rams. So this tells me, if you're the Cardinals, you honestly are happy that you're on the road because you're more successful there. I think they have enough that they can play offensively with them. They've got JJ Watt back. He was a guy that they didn't look the same on the defense without him. So now he's going to be welcomed back in. I think that defensively, that's going to put them over the top. This is a definite game that can go either way because you have the conflicting, stats, right? We're not the super stat show, but sometimes you got to sprinkle a little bit in there.
Yeah.
So the conflicting stats are there. So it's basically a situation where you're sitting here thinking to yourself, who do I have more confidence in? This all comes down. We could talk about this for an hour. Yeah. Kyler Murray or Matthew Stafford. That's what this game comes down to. They both have solid defenses where they can make things happen. Kyler Murray or Matthew Stafford. That's all you need to really think about as to who's going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you, the Rams defense is made to stop the pass, but they are
Mhm.
terrible against the run. And that's why I feel like if Kyler Murray comes out and actually plays well, and especially if he mixes his passes with his run, if he uses his ability to get outside the pocket, he can really hurt this Rams defense and hurt them bad.
So Billy V says the Cardinals don't have Hopkins. I don't believe they have enough to score. Well, enough to score enough points. So here's the thing. As we were just saying, the run game, as my coach was just saying, you don't want AJ Green to be the guy that you need to lean on for a big pass. We've seen that that's not what you want to do. Kirk is pretty good. He can make some plays for you. Johnson can make some plays for you. You've got some backs that can catch the ball, and you've got a Hall of Fame tight end. So keep in mind, Zach Ertz can go out there and explode for 140 yards if they're worrying about everybody else and not him. So they have enough, I feel like, that they can do what they need to do in the passing game because they're going to have to run that ball some too. Kyler Murray's going to have to shake it off. Whatever's been going on with him, he ain't been running. He's going to need to run too. But again, to me, Kyler Murray, Matthew Stafford. That's what determines this. And if I have those two options.
Now, I will say one other thing. The one thing I feel like the Cardinals had going against them, I thought getting the victory over Dallas was going to help them fix this, but they went on a bit of a slump. I mean, we could really call it more like an implosion, right? Where they just were losing all these games. And then they beat Dallas. I thought maybe that was going to help them get back on track, but then they turned around and lost to Seattle with the chance to win the division on the line. So to me, that's my biggest concern is mentally, where are the Cardinals at?
Definitely makes sense. So got another game here. Go ahead and knock this one out too. We've got Pittsburgh versus Kansas City. I'll go ahead and say this. A couple of different layers to Pittsburgh. I think we obviously know Ben Roethlisberger may not be playing anymore after this season whenever their season is done. So I think we have to, no matter how you feel about some of the things with Ben Roethlisberger off the field or some of those things, we have to say, okay, Ben Roethlisberger is a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. He's won Super Bowls. He played a high level for years. He's just not that quarterback anymore. So yeah. I just don't want people to do the, look at what he is now. Remember what he was when he was at his prime. He was a darn good quarterback. So, right. We have to acknowledge that in this game and acknowledge the fact that whenever they lose, this may be it for his career.
Yeah. And, along those lines, man, I think sometimes when you put a guy in that position where he knows this is it's like, you know what? I'm just going to go out there and lay it all on the line. I'm going to literally put everything I have into this. And sometimes it's just for a game, but every now and then, man, like those guys just to really turn back the hands of time and they go out there and they play at a higher level than what they should be able to play. And let's not kid ourselves. As bad as Pittsburgh has looked at times this year, they do have weapons on this offense.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. And then, from what I read, they're going to get Juju back. And I mean, he's not, I don't think first game back from being injured is going to be like an amazing player, but that's another option. That's another weapon. You throw him in the slot and you can get some, some looks. You at least have to pay attention to him. So there's someone else that you have to say, okay, we have to game plan for him now. So
Najee Harris is listed as questionable, but he did practice fully today, so he should be good to go.
And then, they backups, man. I'll tell you one thing about Pittsburgh is they've had to change starting quarterbacks. Obviously, Connor's gone, but they still have Snell, and they got some guys behind Najee that can put up some yards as well. They're another team that keeps a couple of solid running backs on the roster besides their starter. So that's a team that even if Najee can't play or he can't play to the extent that he wants to, it's not a one-back team, and then we're in trouble after that. So definitely want to be aware of that for Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah. Now, flipping to the other side, the defense, Pittsburgh's run defense is horrid. But their pass defense, they actually create a lot of turnovers in that secondary. That's kind of where they actually can get you. And Mahomes is a bit of a gunslinger, and he's prone to some turnovers.
Yeah.
So, there is the absolute possibility there that they might be able to force Mahomes into making some bad decisions to create some turnovers. Now, we've also seen that doesn't necessarily eliminate Mahomes from winning a game, just because he does that. But, that's just something that could be an interesting element to this game that I don't think a lot of people are going to give Pittsburgh credit for.
Yep. And Kansas City's going to be without Edwards-Helaire as well, so they're not going to have him for the game. Not that they don't have backups. The thing with Kansas City, and I'll go ahead and start talking about them real quick, is it's so funny. Like, they can put Damian Williams in the backfield, some other guy in the backfield, and they can still get yards. Now, it's not like 100-yard games, but it's just those plays you need. It's just that 3, 4, 5 yards you need. They just seem to have at least one back there all the time that can just eke out, 3, 4, 5 yards when you need it. So I think one of the things with Pittsburgh is, with the lack of a running game, as I definitely agree with you, running defense, they're going to be susceptible to a couple of those, and maybe even worse, right? Because they may have a couple of things where you're looking at them like, yo, you really let that dude bust for like 10, 15 yards on that play that should have been like 3 yards. Pittsburgh's going to do that a few times. If Kansas City can take advantage of that, and keep in mind, they've been in Super Bowl the last 2 years. So they're a team that they're pretty complete when it gets to playoff time. They started off the season like, but as the season went on, as they normally do, they continue to get better and better. They put this in a position where the number 2 seed. So the only game that they wouldn't have at home is the AFC Championship game. Defense is not great, but it's a great example of what I think Andy Reid wants of the defense, which is bend but don't break, but take the chances when they're there. So I think that this is another one that it's really going to be closer than most people think. I think if you sit and look at a piece of paper and you're just picking games, you see Pittsburgh versus Kansas City, and Kansas City, you're like, oh, Pittsburgh's going to lose that game. Kansas City's going to win. But you have to take a couple more things into, into your thought-making process than just who you see. So what do you think, man?
The smart money's on Kansas City. But like you just said, like, I would not be overly surprised if we're sitting here next week talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers versus whoever.
Yeah, that's actually
it could happen.
Yeah,
it's not as far-fetched as people think it is.
Yeah.
I'm not picking them to win, but
but if you let a team in, like, this is what I say about the Eagles, what I say about y'all, I feel like we're both gonna go deep. When you let a team in and they're comfortable with playing on the road, they become so much more dangerous. Like, we know we're not gonna have a home game. Y'all know y'all are not gonna have a home game unless you play us. And that would have to be like in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah. And here's the thing that you got to think about with Pittsburgh. There's not a single team in the AFC playoffs right now that has less pressure on them than the Pittsburgh Steelers. The expectations for them are literally zero.
That is so true. That is so very true.
They can just go out there and play football and enjoy themselves.
Yep.
So we'll see. So I know we were supposed to have another guest on, man. So I guess our guest isn't coming to talk about our last game, which, I don't blame him. I wouldn't come either if I was a member of that team. So I'm going to allow you, I guess, to go ahead and ask me some questions about this 49ers Cowboys game. As soon as you unmute yourself. You may be getting a call from our guest that was supposed to be on.
Yeah, a little technical difficulties from our guest. Actually said that they were on, but they were in the backstage, but I don't see them. So we'll give them another minute or two, see if they'll pop up here.
You might not have hit enter studio.
Yeah. I will relay that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, man, I mean, if I was a Cowboys fan, I'd probably be scared of showing to man,
But I'll give you my opinion while we're waiting to see if they can overcome those technical difficulties on this one. So you got the 49ers. You have the, as they refer to on this show, the Arlington football team.
Taft.
Yep, Taft. When I look at this game, I see another game that is very tight, 50-50. I see another game that either team can win. What I believe is the true difference between the two teams is the ability to be less vanilla. When I look at the 49ers play, you'll put Debo in the backfield, you'll run reverses, you'll figure out some extra stuff for Aiyuk to do. You'll do so many different things with so many different people to generate yards and to try to generate points. When I look at Dallas, I see a team that is pretty vanilla, I'll say, on what they do. They throw the ball, they run the ball. Not a lot of reverses, not a lot of naked bootlegs or any of those things. Obviously, it makes sense. You don't want Dak running with, what's going on with him right now. But you just kind of see a team that they have great individual defensive players, but they're going to be going against great offensive players that are going to be able to capitalize on some of those weaknesses that they have. So I'm thinking it's a lot closer than people think. We clearly know which way you stand with it, but I think it's a lot closer game that we have. I think we're going to actually have one of the best wildcard weekends that we've had in years this weekend. I think you're going to see 6 very close games. You're going to see a lot of guys go out there and give it their all, and you're going to see some people turn into stars, win or lose, in these games.
Yeah. Which, by the way, just real quick, we'll get another second here for him to hop on. If not, then we'll go forward. But I do just want to go ahead and point out, because I've been complaining about it all year. So of course I'm going to complain about it now that it's actually here. Having a Monday night game during the playoffs, still stupid. Let's put it out there. Because now, if you are the Rams or the Cardinals, whoever wins that game now is going to have one less day to prepare for their next game than anybody else. So that's my thoughts on that. So do you want to go ahead and just start asking me questions, or do you want to give him another second here?
I'm going to try to give him another second here. Trying to see what's going on, because he sees where it looks like he's on backstage, but he's clearly not on backstage with us.
Yeah. So I'm not sure who he's on backstage with, but
not sure at all.
Not sure who show he's on, but
I'm gonna try one other thing with him here though, real quick.
He's not on the Play Callers Sports Talk show. So
yeah, definitely not that. Definitely not that. Yeah, so let's do this. I'm gonna try to we're gonna walk through trying to get him on, but while we're doing that, we're just gonna take a second and go ahead and give our MVP, our NBA MVP candidates. We try to give him a couple more minutes. If we still can't get him on by then, man, we're just gonna have to keep it moving.
Okay. Well, I would definitely allow you to go first on that, since you are a resident NBA expert, sir.
So for me, I feel that what we really have is a thought process. And I say that because there's several people that you could choose, but for me, there's only a couple of choices. Okay. So with me, you only can be an MVP candidate if you also contribute at least slightly on the defensive side. So there's 2 guys that most people would put in to that I'm not going to put in because of that. Okay. Of course, those 2 guys are, to me, Stephen Curry and DeMar DeRozan. Those are 2 guys that definitely should be candidates. But they have to give a little bit more, on the defensive side of the ball. Okay. So when I get into my actual people, I look at it and I think to myself, all right, so that leaves me personally with Giannis.
Mhm.
That leaves me with, of course, LeBron James. You know, we're always going to have to
Mhm.
put him in that conversation. And the reigning and defending MVP. Don't know if you can hear me.
You broke up.
Nikola Jokic. Yeah,
Yes.
I saw that. So the candidates for me is Giannis, LeBron James, and the reigning and defending MVP, Nikola Jokic. Special shout out also to Joel Embiid, what he's able to do with the distractions and the game that he has that he can play. But I think it's really down to those three for me. So when I look at those three, I think LeBron, obviously, mid-season, he's kind of the captain of the ship in LA. I think when you look at Nikola Jokic, when he's out of the game, not playing, but just out of the game, like if he sits for 5 to 10 minutes, this team is just.
Yeah.
And then when you look at Giannis, good team around him, but Giannis is Giannis. So I'm going to actually go Homer here and go Nikola Jokic, but not by a large margin. But I'm going to say that what he's had to do for that team to be around 500, couple games over 500, and be solidly in the playoffs halfway is very impressive. And I'm going to give him the nod over the other guys that I have.
Okay. Yeah, that one name, and you might have said it, and it might have cut out, and I just missed it. That you didn't mention was Kevin Durant. And
I didn't mention Kevin Durant.
Okay, but he's another guy that I put solidly in that. He's in that argument offensively, but he plays no defense. So that's why I would not really consider him. So in looking, because I agree with you that an MVP candidate should actually be a guy who's an all-around player. So in looking at people who are playing both offense and defense at a high level, to me, this is a two-man race. It really comes down to Jokic and Giannis. And I'm going with Joker, man. I just right now, when I look at the level those guys are playing at, I don't see a huge differentiation. I think they're very close to each other, but one of those guys is clearly more important to his team. And I know this isn't necessarily the way the voters always think, but to me, most valuable player means you have to be valuable. Who are you valuable to? You're valuable to your team. And right now, as you said, if he goes to the bench for even like 5 minutes, the Nuggets just fall apart. So to me, there's not another player that's more important to their team that's playing at that kind of level. So that to me is it's a two-man.
Yeah, man. Doesn't look like our guest is going to be able to get on with us, man. So
Yeah, Rob, I don't
yes.
know. I don't know what's going on with that. So
Yeah. Well, we know there's not a link because we did have one of the guests that was able to make it. So we know it's not a link. So
yeah,
we'll just have to troubleshoot it for next time. But yeah, man. So we'll do the same
feel
thing.
free to drop your feel free to drop any comments over in the chat, though, Rob. Feel free to do that. So
Absolutely. So my first question for you is, I'm gonna switch up the questions a little bit here. What do you think the Cowboys can do to beat you? And just because we're talking about the game, I'm actually gonna call it by their name. Any other time, they're Taft.
So there's a couple things. So offensively, the thing that worries me the most, my defense has a susceptibility, and it is this space in the middle of the field between my linebackers and my safeties. And Dallas has the kind of receivers, and they have a good enough quarterback in Dak that they can hit that spot. That's my biggest concern is I feel like Dallas can pick up some really big chunk plays on us, hitting in that area. And I think that they need to be aggressive in targeting that area of the field, which is probably between about 12 and 20 yards down the field. So if Dallas can protect long enough, if they can keep Dak upright and be able to hit those throws, then I have some serious concerns. Now, defensively, there's what they can do, and there's what I think they'll be able to do.
Okay.
So what they can do is they can exploit the right side of my offensive line, which is definitely the weaker side of my line. And if they can do that, especially if they can get pressure up the middle, they can force Jimmy Garoppolo into making some mistakes. Now, the question is Kyle Shanahan going to allow Jimmy Garoppolo to drop back enough for that to make a difference? That would be the question mark. But if they can force us into a pass-heavy offense, that's where I feel like we could lose the game at.
Okay. Now for the 49ers, what do you think is your advantage offensively versus the Cowboys defense?
So we actually have two advantages in this game offensively. Number one is obviously our running game. Our running game is a great equalizer against anybody, because if we can run the football, just like you were talking about with the Eagles, if we can run the football, we're going to control time of possession. We're going to wear your defense down. So by the end of the game, we're going to be able to move the ball a lot easier on your defense. Having a fantastic running game does a lot for you, including takes pressure off your quarterback and opens up play action passes. But the really big advantage that we have over Dallas offensively is the Yak brothers, Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle. And Juwan Jennings is apparently come to join the party as well. So Dallas has 3 players in the top 20 defensively of allowing yards after the catch. Their top 3 corners, who are going to be responsible for covering those guys, have given up over 1,000 yards combined yards after catch this season. That should scare any Cowboys fan.
That's a very good point. That's actually a very good point. So, same question I asked earlier. Who do you think is, or what do you think is the defining matchup or X factor for who's going to be able to win this game?
So for the Cowboys, I think the X factor is Michael Parsons.
Okay.
He's either going to be able to really disrupt my offense, or we're going to be able to take advantage of his youth and get him to make some mistakes and get out of position. So that's going to be a fun one to watch in terms of that. Now, I see Tyler put Parsons and Kittle matchup. I'm going to tell you this. If we can force the Dallas Cowboys to play Michael Parsons in coverage, the Dallas Cowboys have 0 chance to win this game. They need Michael Parsons in the backfield, trying to stop our run, putting pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo. If we can force him to play coverage most of this game, they have absolutely 0 chance to beat us. Because you could might be able to take Kittle away, but then who's going to take away Debo? Who's going to take away IU? And even if you take those guys away, now you got Juwan Jennings stepping up. And now you got the running game to worry about. So it's too many moving pieces. You know, everybody's talking about Dallas's offense. My offense has tons of weapons too. So you can't just say we're going to take away one guy and shut down our offense. So to me, it all comes down to how well does Michael Parsons play in this game for the Dallas Cowboys? He's the difference maker for them. On the other side of the ball, I think it comes down to Jimmy Garoppolo making the right decisions. Every now and then he does have a tendency, especially when he's in trouble, to try to force the ball to Debo or Kittle. And the one thing I will say is, even though I'm loving the idea of Debo going against my mind just went blank. The linebacker just got all the interceptions. What's the name?
I can hear Diggs.
Yeah. I love the idea of watching Diggs try to tackle Debo. I think that's going to be very entertaining to watch as a 49ers fan. But it also does concern me that if Garoppolo can get forced into trying to force the ball to Debo, that Diggs is going to make him pay for it. So to me, Jimmy Garoppolo's decision making is actually going to be the X factor in this game for us.
Okay. My last question to you, defensively, whose defense do you think is going to be more pivotal to their success?
I'm going to say the 49ers defense is going to be more pivotal. Dallas needs their defense to step up a lot. But to me, if I'm looking at, I only named the X factor on our offense, but if I were to list an X factor both offensively and defensively for both teams, my X factor on defense is my front four. If my defense can get to Dak and pressure him, that's going to cause a lot of problems. If my defense front four can't get home, or if we're having to bring a lot of blitzes, and I'm counting on my secondary to cover their receivers, we're going to be in trouble.
All right, definitely, man. I think definitely agree with you, man. A lot of great points that you made. Shout out to Jason Thomas. Go ahead and give you a little shout out there. Got a Raiders fan on here, so no shade on our end. You know, see what y'all got to do out here on Sunday. Tyler brings up a interesting point here. Maybe you'd want to respond to that.
I would tell you that Cooper Kupp went for 118 and we still won.
Yeah, to me, I think it would be more dangerous for Cedric Wilson or CeeDee Lamb to go for 100, right, than Amari Cooper. Amari feels like he's a number one, but I just don't. Like, you know what I'm saying? I just don't feel like he's a number one. I don't feel like he's the guy that you have to worry the most about on that offense. I feel like those two guys are Cedric Wilson, you know, and CeeDee Lamb. And Gallup would have been in that conversation as well if he wasn't injured. I just don't. I'm sorry, Amari Cooper, and I don't have a dislike for him because he plays for the Arlington football team. But I just don't see him as the guy he thinks he is. And a lot of people kind of believe that he is. I think it's more hype than what we've actually seen him do on the field.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that makes you feel pretty good about this game is if you look over the last probably month and a half, 2 months now, CeeDee Lamb has pretty much disappeared from the offense. Whether that's just teams scheming him out or Dallas scheming him out for them, I think it's been a little bit of both. So then you're kind of going to the point you have to depend on Amari Cooper. And I feel like, that's an advantage for us. I do feel like Emmanuel Mosley can probably take at least one of those guys away. We can always give safety help if we need to. Jimmy Ward, even though he's played safety, actually has corner coverage skills. Remember, he's the guy who was actually covering Cooper Kupp a lot of the game. So most of Cooper Kupp's plays did not come when Jimmy Ward was covering him. They actually came when Dante Johnson was covering him. So I look at it like, hey, I have two guys back there that can actually cover. So if we can at least take away those weapons and make Dak have to go to his third, fourth option, that might give my pass rush time to get home.
Yeah.
Oh, Cooper's definitely a nasty route runner. And there's no doubt. CeeDee is too.
Take away. Yeah. I don't take away his route running, but he just doesn't strike me as, the alpha wide receiver on the team.
No. So, no, I agree. I mean, him and CeeDee both are great route runners. And Wilson, actually had a Cowboys fan tell me this week, the problem with Wilson is that, he can go and get open and he can make these big plays. But if he gets hit pretty much as soon as he catches the ball, he's on fumble. So I don't know how accurate that is. That information came from a Cowboys fan. So if it's wrong, what can I say, man? It came from a Cowboys
fan. True. So, we definitely have to do our picks here. Yeah. So we're gonna rock through that. It's not gonna be that hard. You don't have as many games as normal. But want to shout out everyone that's came. Everyone showed up in the comments. Our other guest that wasn't able to hop on. It's all good. Understand things happen. So
Rob says that Wilson has not fumbled. So again, Rob, Shout out to you, fellow Cowboys fans, for providing this information. That's why I put the disclaimer out there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But yeah, I think that a lot of good games this weekend, as Tyler said earlier. I think it's exciting from top to bottom. Starting tomorrow at 4:30, we're going to see great football, and we're going to be able to, be excited, kind of get away from everything going on in the world for a little while and just enjoy some football. So that's going to be an exciting weekend, man. And hopefully for those of you who are in areas where there may be a storm front coming this weekend, stay safe, stay warm, and hope you keep electricity so you can watch the games. And then
charge your electronics every couple hours. Make sure you keep everything charged up.
Real talk.
Just in case.
And let you have the floor, man, to go ahead so we can make these picks and wrap this up.
Yeah, man. So we will go in order of the time that the games are going to come on. So we're going to start with the Raiders at the Bengals.
Got to be more careful. I'm gonna go Raiders, man. I feel like they're gonna win that game. I don't know why. I just feel like they're gonna win that game.
Man, there's a voice in my head that keeps saying the Bengals are gonna win this game. But then there's this other voice that comes behind it that goes, "No, they're not." I'm actually going Raiders also, and I see Tyler's also going Raiders. So
yes, sir.
So at least if we're wrong, we won't be wrong alone.
It's always a good thing, right?
All right. Next up, we got the Patriots at the Bills.
Well, Billy V is picking Cincy. Rob is a little ahead of himself. Yeah, but it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead, man. You want to say the next game?
Yeah. No, we're doing New England Buffalo. So Tyler's taking the Bills.
I'm going with Tyler. Bills. Definitely Bills. I don't trust Matt Jones.
I don't trust Josh Allen right now.
I trust him more than Matt Jones.
I'm actually going New England.
Okay. Tropical Island. I dig it.
Yeah.
But if he says too much talent on offense for Cincy, I don't think the quarterback's going to be able to utilize that talent because he's going to be on his patootie a lot. But, I do feel where you're coming from, Billy V.
Well, hey, look, just like I was just talking about with the Dallas and 49ers. Everybody's talking about all the weapons Dallas has. No one's really talking about all the weapons the 49ers have. Hey, here's a news flash for you. The Raiders have weapons.
No.
I know I talk a lot of smack about Derek Carr, but still.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do.
Yeah.
So
everyone's going Bills but me, okay.
Yep. Rob is going Cincy as well. So big shot Rob, Cincy. We can rock with that.
And he also took Bills. Billy B took Bills.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, the Eagles at the Bucks. I'm shocked.
Say less.
I thought for sure. I gotta be honest, man. This one's so hard for me. I really feel like Philly has a great chance to win this game. Tampa has a lot of injuries. They just have a lot of stuff going on. I just can't pick against Tom Brady right now.
That's cool.
So I'm gonna go Bucks, but I'm not gonna be at all surprised if the Eagles win this game. Like, not at all.
So I feel honestly good because no one else picked the Eagles.
Yeah.
And that's when we play our best. So I feel really good that no one else picked the Eagles.
I'm actually gonna put Tyler's comments up because I agree with him 100%.
Yeah, it's just actually picking us. I think that puts the bad juju. So I think you guys are actually helping us. Those of you that kind of want us to win. What I will say is just expect a boisterous Eagles fan if we do win next week. And for every game after that we win, just be prepared for that. If we do win, and I believe we can. And I know that the witty flow got my back because he was talking about how Hurts going mollywop the Bucks earlier, and AB gonna be wearing the Eagles jersey after the game.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, man, I'm not gonna be surprised if y'all win. I actually gave y'all a really good chance. and nothing would make me happier than to watch
I got
lose.
I gotta address Billy V. You may not have heard, but there's this guy that we have in Philadelphia who shuts down number one receivers by the name of Big Play Slay. Oh, he used to be on your team, so you know he's nice. Don't do that. Mike Evans is not going to be the one. I'm not saying we're going to win the game, but Mike Evans is not going to do it because Big Play Slay is going to shut that down. And Rob, 31-14, that's why your computer wouldn't work. That's exactly why I messed like that. That's exactly why.
All right, so next up, we got the 49ers at the Cowboys. So obviously, I'm going 49ers.
Well, I was on the fence, but after Rob's post, I'm definitely going 49ers. Yeah, I'm saying I was on the fence, like, this is good 50-50. But after 31-14, bro, I'm gonna roll on over here to the 49ers side. Niner Nation, let's go.
Yeah, I'm leaning about 60-40. I'm not counting Dallas out by any means. I'm gonna give us a slight edge. And just because I know this is gonna irritate Rob so much, Rob, just want you to know, stadium's gonna be at least 30% Niner fans, minimum. So Tyler's also taking the 49ers. All right. Billy V's also taking the 49ers. Looking like you out there on the island. Wow.
Let's go Niners. Yeah, Rob. What's the score going to be for that game, Rob? 75-3?
Probably. I think earlier. Apparently respect doesn't respect you. All right, we got the Steelers at the Chiefs. Sunday Night Football.
I'm gonna be honest. This game scares me. I'm gonna pull a Tyler on this one. I'm gonna go Chiefs, but Pittsburgh, I'm rooting for y'all on this one. I want Ben to get one more moment in the spotlight in the playoffs, but I think the Chiefs are gonna win the game.
So Rob agreed with my comment. He says that's almost 80K Cowboys fans. So, Rob, if you have 100,000 people that can fit into your stadium and 30% of them are 49ers fans, that's 70K, sir, not 80K.
Wait, man, he's a fan of the Arlington football team, so what can you say?
All right, so Billy V's got KC. Rob's taking Chiefs by 30.
So disrespectful, bro. This dude is very disrespectful to Pennsylvania teams tonight.
You know what? I've gone on the island once already tonight. I'm enjoying the weather. I'm going back on the island. I'm calling it. The emotional high is going to be there. Big Ben is turning back the clock for one night. They're going to lose next week. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are winning this game against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow. That's the muy grande kahunas to say that. I have to respect that.
Yeah, I'm throwing it out there, man. Throwing the big kahunas out there.
Yeah, it's pretty gangster.
Tyler said that's
in a
bold.
sports sort of way. It's pretty gangster.
Tyler said
that's good. Yeah, definitely bold.
Change it to bold.
Yeah, definitely bold.
All right, and then we finish up Wild Card Weekend, Monday night. Still a horrible idea. The Arizona Cardinals against Los Angeles Rams. I have to decide which one I trust the least. A slumping Cardinals team or Matthew Stafford in the playoffs.
Well, one thing you have to remember is even though the Cardinals are slumping, they did win a road game against the Arlington football team the week before this past.
They did.
So I'd say...
And then they proceed to lose to the Seattle Seahawks.
For me, they at least have some momentum going into this game. It is on the road where we know that they're very good. I'm going to pick anyone but Matthew Stafford. So I'm going Arizona. Kyler Murray, big game in the air and on the ground.
You know what? It's not going to be because of Matthew Stafford, but I'm going to pick the Rams. I can't trust Arizona right now.
And I can't trust the Rams.
I'm not. I don't trust either team, but they're playing each other. So I mean, what are you going to do? So see, I'm gonna go Rams. I don't think Stafford's gonna be the reason they win. But I can't trust Arizona. Like they're in a slump.
So Rob brings up an interesting point. And you kind of touched on this earlier. A lot of times we get in these games and we talk about, oh, this one team has this great defense. Well, let me explain something. The Cardinals defense is not trash. And they have the most important piece in J.J. Watt back. So to think like the Rams defense is just like head and shoulders above, I wouldn't say that. Now, I would say they're going to get some rushes, obviously, because they got Aaron Donald. Mm-hmm. They have Jalen Ramsey back there playing corner, so that's going to make it difficult to want to throw to one of their receivers. But again, unless he's going to guard Zach Ertz, I don't think their biggest threat is going to be neutralized. Take it for someone who's watched Zach Ertz since he was a rookie. That man can run around and catch a ball better than a lot of wide receivers in this league still.
I mean, listen, Arizona definitely has the talent to win this game. I don't doubt that at all. I worry about where they are mentally.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I don't think this one is, to me, like, all jokes aside, this is literally 50-50. Like, literally, we could toss a coin and I'll take whatever the coin said. It'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, Rob, like I said earlier when we were actually talking about this game, I think what this really comes down to is for Arizona to win this game, it's all about Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
If Kyler Murray can go out and extend plays and wear that Rams defense down, they'll win this game. And the Rams are very susceptible to it. So we'll see. But yeah, I agree with you. I think it is a 50-50 game. I'm just not trusting the Cardinals mentally. So I'm going Rams.
No, I feel what you're saying. I'm not saying that you're personally saying like the Cardinals don't have a defense. I just a point, like a lot of times, even when we watch sports shows and stuff on those 3 or 4 little networks, they always talk about how, you know, this one team's defense is really good. Like the other team is in the playoffs and they just don't have any defense. Like how'd they get there? I mean, I don't see a lot of teams scoring 30, 40 points a game every game. So, you know, you had to buckle down and get some of those tight wins, and your defenses had to make plays for you to get there. That's kind of why I'm really going with it.
Yeah. So, you know, just real quick, man, you just want to say, you know, for anybody who's a fan of any of the teams that are in the playoffs, congratulations. Your team made it to this point.
Yes,
so
sir.
You got a chance. Right now you have an exact same chances that everybody else are going to win in the Super Bowl this year.
Yep.
Except those teams who are already on the couch. So if your team's on the couch, stay up people's timelines talking crap.
Oh, it's too late. They already started. But I will say this. Whoever wins this week, just know next week, Tennessee and Green Bay are lurking. And Green Bay's got King Henry back. I mean, excuse me, not Green Bay, but Tennessee's got King Henry back. You know, so it's going to be an interesting ride out west and in the east.
Yeah.
But we've already got a commitment from Tyler for next week, so we'll have Tyler on the Talk Green Bay. He's pretty much told us he's coming on. So, hey, I mean, you know, when you bowl like that, all I can do is agree with you, man. It's what we do.
You mess me up because you said King Henry, you said Green Bay. And also thinking like, first of all, why are you calling Tyler King? I thought you were about to introduce Tyler. I was thinking you were about to introduce Tyler.
King T.
King T. All hail King T. Let's not get this dude head blown up. You might come up and hit this dude with a Burger King crown on or something.
Got to put the pinky up. All hell King T.
King T.I. Well, man, appreciate everybody who tuned in. Good luck
Definitely.
to everybody not named the Dallas Cowboys. And
good luck to
or
everybody
the
not named
Arlington
the
football
Tampa Bay
team, either one.
or the
Yeah.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because y'all,
Yeah.
I hope you're going down. I don't know for sure, but that's my hope.
And Rob, if by some chance you win, so next week, I'll congratulate you. But make sure that if we win, you don't hide. Make sure you come next week. Don't want to hear nothing. You had a word. Somebody got, something going on. Be here next week.
My sick. Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, because
I'll be here. I'll be here either way, and I will be a man and look dead in the camera and congratulate you on your victory. You pick against you against whoever you playing against.
That definitely sounds like my co-host, 100%.
So just make sure you hear it if y'all lose. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, we do have to be here anyway. Either way, huh?
Yeah, and y'all find a table, man. Y'all find a table base fan out there somewhere and invite to the show so that my co-host has some people to talk trash to and they win.
And if they lose, even if Tampa Bay win, I'm sure there'll be a few moments that we can discuss.
Yeah,
like somebody accidentally breathing on Tom Brady and getting a 15-yard penalty.
Oh, Rob, I agree. I think either team can win. I'm giving us a slight edge, but I'm by no means feeling like this is a guarantee. Like I feel like both teams are really good. Both teams are really talented. It's gonna be a great game. I'm excited for it, man. Getting those old school nostalgia, early '90s vibes going right now. So loving it. I'm putting it on here right now. Bro, say he won't hide. Y'all see it. Well, man, any closing thoughts you want to add before we deuce it out?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
All right, man. Well, with that, y'all enjoy Super Wildcard Weekend. Come back next Friday night so that we can talk about it.
Yes, sir.
7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Hey, you know how we do? You may even want to make sure you're here because you never know. We might just go in and drop the link and say, hey, people, come on, let's talk.
Let's go.
Be ready.
Till next week, we are
the Play Callers.